Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Build-A-Figure Collect and Connect, whatever you want to call it, Merciless, which is one that I was really excited to get, just basically because it's like a medieval-looking Batman character, and that's really it. Like, I don't know very much about the story at all, other than it's a different Earth's Bruce Wayne, and he wears armor like this. That's all I know. If you want to tell me about it, that's fine. I don't really care, honestly, because it's just a cool looking character and I wanted to review it, and I wouldn't mind having it in my collection. I thought, is that still the case? That's the question. Do I still want to have it in my collection? Well, you'll find out by the end of the review. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands to the top of his head, not the ear thingies, they're not horns, they're wings. About 22 centimeters, a little bit shy of that, which makes him roughly, let's just say 8.5 inches. That's pretty close. And so the thing about that is, he's too freaking big. It's very weird. He's just a Bruce Wayne from another Earth. And here he is up against another one, and he's a giant. He's freaking huge. Now, in some of the artwork, he's drawn to look huge, but that's only when he's by himself on the panel, or in the panel. When he's with other people, he's the same size as them. So he should be human-sized, and he's gigantic. I don't know what McFarlane was thinking. That's very weird. And then we have the Doomsday one, which is way too small for what he's supposed to be. Very, very strange choices. If you don't mind that, then it doesn't affect you. If you care about scaling that, now you know he's definitely out of scale. He's way too big, even at the 7-inch scale. Just again, to be clear, they're both supposed to be human-sized. That's human-sized. He is huge. He's humongous. Okay, time for the question of the day. Which Batman is your favorite? And I don't mean color schemes. I mean, like, there's a million different versions of Batman, whether it's like Long Halloween or different Earth versions or whatever it is. Whatever you want to pick, I don't care. Not color scheme, but actual versions of Batman. Which one do you prefer? Honestly, I'd rather you not just pick a comic run, which is just drawn in a different style, because that's still basic suits. But either way, you can do that if you want to. But I personally really like the version of Batman that was in Young Justice, which I know is kind of a cop-out because it's really just plain Batman, but he also had that slightly techie suit, but still basic suit, and I thought it was really cool. Okay, that's probably not my favorite, but I liked it. Anyway, here it is. Here's Merciless. Is it any good? Well, let's go ahead and talk about the aesthetic first, because that's what we always do. It's in this metallic tealish blue color, which is pretty nice. I think maybe it should have been a little bit more blue. It actually looks like it kind of looks like that on camera, which is going to be interesting when I go back to edit the video. If he actually looks like that on camera, then you guys are going to see what I want him to look like rather than what he actually does. Let's see if this makes it clear. Nope, he still looks pretty blue. Whatever. It's fine. It's almost all that color. We have a little bit of silver for the chains here on the chest here. A gray piece of plastic for his fur up here, because he's very furry. And then we have some gray down here for his loincloth. Otherwise, there's just little hints of like dry brushing some silver on there to pop it. Not a whole lot going on. Yeah, he does have some shading in here for around the eyes to make them look like they're glowing. The eyes are a separate piece, so they are not painted poorly. They're not painted at all, but they look really good. So it doesn't necessarily need more. I think it would have been helpful to maybe throw a wash on there or something to bring out all the detail in the armor, but it still looks really good, and I think that's okay. So that's fine. The sculpt is good. It's reasonably accurate. I don't really see an issue with this. From an aesthetic standpoint, I can't get this leg to peg in anymore. I'm gonna have to go at it with a hairdryer and maybe an X-Acto and see what's holding it up. But other than that, it's pretty good. It's pretty well done from an aesthetic standpoint. We'll get to the articulation in a minute, but yeah, it's good. I'll give it an 8. There's not a whole lot going on, but there's lots of sculpt work, and there is enough paint to make it come to life. So I am okay with that. And for McFarlane, it's highly accurate. They have been having issues with accuracy. I don't know what the deal is with that, whether it's intentional or not. It is something we have to discuss in this as this is a review, and that's what we do. Okay, on to the accessories. We get his sword, and it is a sword. It is one solid color. I guess that's reasonable enough, so no complaints. No alternate hands, though. I think some hands would have been really cool, like just some open, mean-looking hands, because right now we have 2 gripping hands and 1 grip thing. So that kind of sucks. I hate the way they do that. You know, it's just pointless. At least give him a fist hand and a gripping hand. That gives you some variety, but having a second gripping hand's kind of worthless. So 5 out of 10 for accessories. You're probably thinking he doesn't have that much, and you're maybe halfway right. So for the head, we have some ball pegs going on, but yeah, there's not a lot you can do there. I mean, he's got a big collar, and the way the ball pegs are set up, it doesn't provide much room. So, yeah, you'll be able to pose his head a little bit, but you're not going to be getting anything crazy out of there. That's just the way it goes. For the shoulder pads, they are on a ball peg, so they can move around a little bit. You can see that ball peg up there. They don't have a ton of range, especially with his ear thingies up there. That's just the nature of the design, so that's okay. We're going to get these out of the way for now. The shoulder connects with a ball peg to the torso, and so that does give you some range there, which could be helpful for posing. I tend to think on a figure like this, that much extra range isn't going to make a difference. Save the budget, put it somewhere else. But this isn't a bad thing, so that's really just a matter of preference. Other than practically speaking, that's not going to help you other than like for adjustment posing, which is important if you're doing photography, but even then, is it going to matter? Probably not that much. That's up to you though. So you have that. This is just a floating piece. The arm itself can go up pretty high. Can it do that with the shoulder pad in place? It can. It gets a little bunchy, but it works, so no complaints there. I mean, for as far as shoulder pads go and big ones like this, that's all right. I don't like the way they sculpted this down here. They knew they were doing that. Like, they knew they were going to have part of that sculpt work be in the armpit so that when you raise the arm, it's there. It should have just been mushed in. Just flush that up so that there's no big lump there. Obviously, that's not a big issue, but it could be a problem for some people at some angles, especially if you're doing photography, so be aware of that. Like right there, it makes sense that it's like that, but it also doesn't need to be there even in that pose. Just flush that up and you'll be good. You do get the full rotation, of course, but that's when the shoulder pad definitely is going to get in the way. And you can just readjust it a little bit, but it's still going to be in the way. There is no bicep swivel, which does suck. I hate it when that happens. We have a single jointed elbow, which gives us not 90 degrees on either side. It's pretty limited. It's basically the same articulation on both sides. You do get rotation out of that elbow, though. So that will help for your sword holding poses. He's not going to be the most dynamically posed figure. That's just the way it goes. But his arms do look decent. And there's enough armor on there to hide all the weirdness of the joint, so that's okay. Giant ball hinges for the wrist. On a figure like this, that's fine. They don't stand out too much and they do afford some posability. They are probably excessively large, but like I said, it'll work. And you kind of need that if you want the range with all this heavy armor. So that'll be okay. He can definitely hold the sword, no problem. For the torso, ball pegs aplenty. Basically how it should be done with a diaphragm joint here and a ball peg down here. You still don't, I don't know what their deal is. You can't bring him forward really at all. He goes back fairly well with the top and the bottom. Damn it, eBay, why are you notifying me of things while I'm reviewing? He leans back pretty far. You guys probably didn't even hear the notification. He can't really lean forward, so very limited in the torso. Side to side is good, I guess. It's definitely fairly loose as well, though. Rotation is full at the top and at the bottom, so if you really want to rotate him, you can rotate him to your heart's content. This is not really moving anywhere, so let's hope it's flexible enough. It feels like it is, that the hips will still work. Let's see. Going forward, I'm fighting him, and that's about as far as I'm getting, so it's very limited. Let's pull that back a little bit. Can't get those legs to go any farther forward. They have the range technically inside, but with everything going on, wow, this leg's just coming off completely. I can't get it to stay in place. I don't know what the deal is. You guys can let me know if you had that issue, but I haven't tinkered with it yet. I always want to show you guys the figures exactly as they come out of the package. Going out to the side is no issue at all on this guy, so that's fine if you really want that. And as far as the thigh swivel goes, there's still just a minimal one built into the joint. Honestly, that's fine for most poses, but I know a lot of you would prefer more, and that really just comes down to preference. If you have a heavier thigh swivel, you either need to engineer it better, which apparently they don't want to do, or you need to have a cut, which is ugly. So there are ways around it, but apparently we're not going to go in any of those ways. For the knees, we have a single jointed knee, which is not the worst. I mean, we've definitely seen uglier knees. This is perfectly fine given the armor. It's very well hidden in this case. Mostly McFarlane screws up the knee looks, aesthetically speaking, but this one is okay. It doesn't need to be a swivel there. It is, that's just how it's connected. I don't know if that's going to be helpful to you or not, but it does swivel at the bottom of the knee. And then for the ankle, we have a ball hinge again, which is definitely the way to go for this guy. No issues there. You can rotate it around. You get a decent ankle rocker. Perfectly good choice there. Excessively large toe hinge because it's way too far back in the foot. Like, that is not where it should be at all. And it's very soft. So that is going to definitely hurt stability when you're trying to balance this guy and half of his foot is on a loose hinge. That's not a good thing. But It is there, so if you really, really like toe hinges and don't care about stability, then you're good. So articulation on this guy, it's gonna get like a 6 out of 10. Some of it's done well, some of it's not done well. Nothing is too terrible, other than it's just limited, and most of that is due to the design of the character, not the figure. However, the torso, they could definitely, look, with all that armor, they could squeeze out so much more range, but they didn't. So there are definitely some drawbacks on this thing, but the final verdict on this guy is it looks pretty cool. You're getting what you expected you'd be getting. I don't think anybody thought he was gonna have crazy good posability. It definitely could be better, could have more accessories, things like that, but otherwise it's a solid release, especially for a Build-A-Figure, other than being too big, which, yeah, I guess really that should bother me more. I guess I don't really care because it doesn't look like a regular Batman anyway, but it's gonna look really weird on a shelf. And he's huge. I mean, he's really big. I don't know. That should bother me more. Well, objectively speaking, it does bother me. Personally, I don't really care. But, okay, so final verdict on this guy. Too big. Could have better range, could have better accessories, but still solid. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's a fine release. If you wanted it, go ahead and track it down. I don't know if you should buy the whole wave of figures unless you wanted them anyway to get this. But if you just wanted this, well, now you know whether or not you should spend your money. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.